Hello, this is Jamie Dragosta. Well, how did you like the first video on how we think? You know, the famous Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, also known as the philosopher, says, "Very little is needed. It is in your way of thinking." And on the last video, you heard me mention George Bernard Shaw saying that 2% of the people think, 3% of the people think they think, and 95% of the people would rather die than think. Now, both of these men came from very different times and very different cultures. Their wording and approach are slightly different, but they agree on the construct or the idea that we are what we think. So in today's insight and training to the Dragosta strategy of reclaiming your ideal body image, we will start with a quick review on our image of the mind. We'll continue building upon how we think, so when we start to view our eating and our drinking and our daily habits, we're going to know the why our health and bodies are the way that they are, and why it seems so difficult to lose weight easily without exercise and restriction and the self-torture called yo-yo dieting. And lastly, more importantly, how you can change and transform your body into your ideal body image. Now, we will also tap into some of the, shall we say, qualified reasons why we're unhealthy. Some say that we're overweight simply because of genetics or medication or because of the food or the quantity of the amount that you eat. Or maybe because you don't exercise. Well, I don't care what the excuse is. I don't care what we use. Even if we say, "I'm just big boned," doesn't really matter. These reasons may be a minor hindrance, but none of them are the primary cause, not even close to why our bodies are and look the way that they do. We want to know the root cause of being overweight and unhealthy. We know the symptoms of an unhealthy body already. You better believe that I was in a state of dis-ease when I had my heart attack and when I was grossly overweight. Something tells me that we all know intuitively being obese or unhealthy is simply the result of something else and not the way that we've heard it or use it or live it. It is time to retake control of our bodies. Now, what I want to do is just review quickly the stickman figure or the ideal body image. So remember, we drew a circle, and in this circle we put the mind, and then we put the smaller circle of the body. The mind, we drew a line in the middle of it, and we labeled them the top part conscious mind, the bottom part subconscious mind. We have 5 physical senses. We can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And then I drew, or remember that we put the antenna on top of the conscious mind to represent each one of those 5 physical senses. And so now we're gathering all that data. We're making informations. We're either accepting ideas or rejecting ideas. And then we also know that the conscious mind also is known as the intellectual mind. Remember the definition that I gave you of intelligence is the ability to overcome obstacles. And so besides the 5 physical senses, we have 6 higher senses. These higher senses give us insight into our intellect to be able to make different changes. So one of them is perception. Then we had will. We talked about imagination and memory and intuition and reason. Now, when we use our intelligence to make decisions or make choices or allow them to come into the conscious mind or into the intellect, it goes down into the subconscious mind or into our emotional mind and creates vibrations and creates frequencies. And we call these emotions, and we get emotional about things. We get very passionate sometimes when we're angry, and sometimes when we're sad, and sometimes, we get really, really happy. But all of these things happen in the emotional mind. Now, this vibration, this frequency, causes a reaction in the physical, and the physical is our body. And so our body starts to vibrate. We start to be like these homing beacons. So whatever we're vibrating or putting out a vibe out there, the world starts representing and giving us exactly what our vibration in our bodies happen or is experiencing. Sometimes that vibration is good and sometimes that vibration is not so good. When it comes to our body, the vibration, sometimes we put ourselves in a vibration state of being overweight, or when I was 300 pounds, it was a 300-pound vibration. I was unhealthy. I was in a vibration of heart attack and sickness, and I had to go to the doctor all the time and take a bunch of blood pressure and blah, blah, blah bills or pills. Well, they related to big bills, right? But that's not what we want. We want to learn how to control all these things so our vibration gives us a different result. So we are going to talk as we go through this a lot about our feelings and how the vibration of different feelings affect our body, our food choices, how we metabolize, how we see ourselves, how we heal, and so forth and so on. Okay. So now that we have the image of the relationship between the mind and the body again fresh on the screen of your mind, I now want you to use the power of your imagination. And let's go over some terminology that I use quite frequently as I describe some of the different learning lessons we'll cover. Now, we live in an incredible time right now. We live in a time where technology will literally allow me to be sleeping in my bed in Salt Lake City, Utah, hop on a plane the next morning. By the end of that evening, I could be landing in Europe, heading to a hotel while talking on the phone to my family and friends that I just left back in Utah. And I could also be writing and collaborating on a document with friends from, all over the world. It's an incredible age of technology, and we have instant everything, it seems, except for our health. We don't have instant health. That we must learn to manifest. In fact, as humans, we seem to be getting more unhealthy as technology advances. That's an interesting thought. We might come back to that someday, because it does affect our body. Now, we've become accustomed to new words like hardware and software. We've heard the term coding or writing in code. Another word could be programming. So we understand if we hear someone talk about a friend who's a computer program or a computer programmer, we can use our mind and create a picture. Some very intellectual person sitting at a keyboard typing away into the wee hours of the morning in a language that we don't really understand or don't really know. But we know what a computer programmer basically does, right? So we know what computer hardware is and the difference between computer software. We know the physical machine that we buy at the store. When we bring that home, we call it our computer or we call it our laptop, and that's the hardware. What we physically can see and touch is the hardware. But computer software is different. In fact, software doesn't necessarily seem like it even has physical weight to it. We know the software program we install on our computer may come with a disk, or we can download it, or the disk even might have weight. But the volume of that download or the volume of that disk has information that somebody wrote on it, and they wrote a program and they wrote that in code. That's the language for that program. And it is a code. In fact, a blank disk, even with or without a program written on it, weighs the physical amount. It weighs the same. The hardware is physical, but the software is etherical. And based upon the language or instructions of the coding of the program, will determine what kind of program runs or operates on your hardware, which you label your body. So if you buy a computer program and install it on your computer, for example, Office Word, you're not going to expect that once you install it, you're going to log on and start playing solitaire. Completely different program. And we understand that a computer hardware with no programming or has no programs doesn't do anything. It is basically dead. In fact, with a computer that has zero programming, not even the ability to turn on, is just a big paperweight. Now, what's interesting about this is over time, our technology has advanced to the point where a lot of things, a lot of hardwares get smaller and smaller, and smaller in physical size, and it seems that there's more and more intelligence, or the ability to overcome any obstacle or challenge, or codes being written, all at the same time. It seems that more and more of these incredible coding, or this incredible computer data and the incredible computer age in which we live, gets into smaller and smaller computers or smartphones or tablets or hardware. But our bodies don't. If our bodies are the hardware and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and more unhealthier based upon coding, then perhaps we should start to evaluate the coding and not the hardware. Now, that might be counterintuitive and a different approach to losing weight, and I get that. The program of dieting continued to fail for me and for millions of other folks, and it still does. No, we've been told a lot of different reasons why we're unhealthy. We've actually been told by friends and family. We've been told by the mirror that we look in each day that we're fat or unhealthy. The mirror even tells us lies like we have a program with this part or that part of our hardware. Maybe these programs, whether they're installed by us or we allow somebody else on the outside to install them, like our friends or family, maybe TV, maybe ads. Even family could tell us that we might be unhealthy or that we look a certain way. Maybe we feel it in our bones and we've resolved to say, you know what, that's just the way that I am, so I'm not going to change. So at this point, we know we have a program in use. We've already installed it. We also know we don't like the results of the program because we see a reflection in the mirror or in our clothes and we say, I don't like this. So the program we have in our system is working because stuff is happening to our bodies all the time. We're growing, we're getting bigger, we're aging. You know, we get this sickness, we put on an extra 10 pounds or 20 pounds or in my case 125 pounds. But just maybe it's the wrong program that we've installed on the program. And maybe the hardware is just fine. Yeah, our bodies, our hardware is perfect in every way. We are incredible, but we've been lied to about how it works. And we have a lifetime of codes and programs which do not serve us very well now. Your body is exactly the way that your programs, the programs that you have chosen, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, which are installed and running. So know this. Let's learn how to change the program and recode the program to get us the physical body that we really, really, really want. And you know what's interesting? No matter what we do, to try to change the outside without changing the program that's on the inside just causes frustration and low self-esteem. And a hardware system that we don't like, and it just gets riddled with health challenges as we age. So no matter what we do on the outside, whether we go get a surgery or cut some of this off, or I don't know, maybe we can even make it bigger and put this on this part, whatever. Or if we start to become unhealthy in any way, even if we go to a doctor and the doctor gives us some medication and it causes another problem. All these things are just temporary window dressings on the outside. It affects our size and shape of the outside hardware. But again, we never address the programming because the programming has to do with how we feel about the outside. And we can't do anything about the outside unless we change how we feel about the inside. Let's contrast this to a plastic surgeon. I don't have anything against plastic surgeons. It's just, they don't address the root cause. He or she solves your illusion of a problem by going in, and by the way, sometimes they do wonderful things, reconstructive surgery, that kind of stuff. And I'm not talking about like trauma and getting into an accident. That is different than a sickness, illness, or disease. Now, sickness, illness, or disease could come from trauma, but the cause of the sicknesses and the disease is, as we're talking, in the mind. So the surgeon, they just cut into the body. And maybe they do get you some temporary results. And maybe those temporary results could trigger you into long-term results.